This is Rocket Science is it's a small 18 card game that was made for two players by Concrete Canoe. They just finished up a Kickstarter. I wanted to run through a solo variant I designed. It's nothing amazingly difficult to do. This is a very simple game, and you will see that this is a very simple way to play very simple game. So, all the card backs are the same exact, which is nice. Now, this is a black and white prototype that came from their Kickstarter. They will have, full color PNPs. They will have, there is an actual product. This is just the only way I have it. I'm not endorsed by them. I am a backer. So I just am going to run through what I got. So what you're going to do is you shuffle up the stack. You're going to deal out your 3 cards. Now, since this is solo and you don't need the information on both sides of the field, I find it easier to simply have the planet side to us. I'll do a zoom in real quick to show you what these cards are doing, because I'll both be teaching you how to play the game and how to play it solo. It's not that complicated. You're going to deal 2 cards face down. We're just going to call this a stockpile. Essentially, it is the opponent's hand. The cards in it do not matter as much. You're not going to be looking at them. You're going to be dealt 2 cards. Now, in the list I will have, in the link I will put in for the written rules, there are a few key factors, whether who's the starting player and, sort of scoring. It's just 4 little variables. It's not a big deal. For right now, we're going to be doing it that the player is going to go first. So I'll show you a card and show you what's on the card. See if I can get the zoom in. Up here, and you'll see it's on both top and bottom. This game is dealing in multiples. So 3 times 3 is 9. We're not doing addition. It's not 6. It's 9. And then this one here can be played as an additional card. Let's say here we go. So if I had 15, I could make it 14. Now, what am I doing? You'll see here, there are 2 values. This is actually a really good one. So 18 points, if I spend 18 points worth of cards in multiples, obviously, I can get this for 6 points. They'll go into my pile. If I spend 19, so the same way there are minus ones, there are also plus ones, like you can see right here. Losing it. There's a plus 1, so I could have gotten, that's how I can get my 19. I can take this as a landing site. Now, how you would score the landing, you will flip this card over, in case you're wondering why there was a plus 2, put that in your score pile. When it goes time for scoring, you add 2 to that value. To that value, my fault. So you'll be getting 8 points because you got your plus 2 right there. That's basic. That's how you score a card. Not hard, right? So for the player who has 2 cards, now 9. Is there anything here for 9? I have a 20. I'm sorry. For black and white, this thing does not show up very well at this distance, so I'm sorry about the auto zoom going back and forth. A 24 and a 9. So I can take the 9. I'm going to do that. I will take my 2 cards, pay them to the discard. We'll put that right there, right next to the deck. I will take this 9. Now, it's only worth 5 points, so there's the scoring value. That's the target, what I need. They call that fuel and everything else. This is just going to go, I'm going to be putting them face up right about here. It's going to kind of be off camera if it starts to slide, so we'll see where that goes. Then it will go to the opponent. They will then take the rightmost card if they have 2 or fewer, and they do. So they have a 3rd card, just like that. And then at the end, so that was my turn. The opponent's turn, they took 1. Then we'll slide down and refill the row to 3. Now let's look at our new cards. So there's our rightmost one that was carried over from last turn. We're adding on, there we go, an 18 that'll get 6 points, a 15 that'll get 5 points. They both have landing sites. We'll see why that matters in a second. Now, since we're doing multiples and everything else, this 3 that can also be a plus 1 is pretty valuable to me. I will take this. Come on. There we go. I will take this and go into my hand. The opponent is going to take the highest value card. So in that case, that will be the 6. In hard mode, they will also score it if it has a landing site. So we flip it over. Now, to denote what is a landing site and everything else, I kind of turn them upside down just to kind of set them aside, because you'll see they're up there. Now, how do they take that? They are going to pay 3, flip them over, put them in the discard. Boom, done. They have no cards in hand. They have 1 card scoring. I have 1 card scoring, 1 card in hand. The AI will always pay 3 cards. They will not pay more. They will not pay less. We're going back and forth actually trying to get our numbers. They're kind of a cheater AI. So then we're going to refill. And then play is going to continue. It comes back to me. I take a card to go to my hand. They will take whatever. So if I take this one, put it in my hand, they'll take this one, set that there. That's why I turn that one sideways, so I know that's scoring. It'll go here, and then we refill. This is going to go back and forth because as we empty this deck out into hands and everything else, you have a maximum hand size of 4. I have to emphasize that. If you take 1 and you have a hand size of 4, you discard down to 4 at the end of turn. As these go back and forth, you're going to have various ones up here scored. It'll have like, 1 more in hand. I'll have 2 in hand. I'll have a couple scored over here, and these will all be distributed, whether it's, scoring, whatever. What you're going to end up with at the end of the game is going to be a couple cards in hand from them, a couple cards in hand from you. And those cards are going to be discarded. They're just going to be moved off. They're worth nothing. You will add up the AI's sights for that value. Obviously, any face down ones that had the landing. So if this one had actually been 1, it would have been flipped over. Any of these other ones have landing. This one has a landing. This one's actually pretty hard to get. And then we would add it up like you would add up their points. So, they would have, quick math, that's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And then the value of these cards, 29, 33, 39. That's a little high for them. But they would have 39 versus our pile. Now, that's all you're doing. You're just going back and forth, basically playing out the deck, refilling only on the opponent's end turn, because the whole point of this conveyor belt, that's a sliding, refilling, everything's sliding to the right. That's nicknamed a conveyor belt action. The reason that that's important is it lets you control what the AI is taking. It always scores the highest one. So if you see a card that's worth a lot of points, the highest one I've seen is a 6. Obviously, 6 with a landing site is the utmost of value because that will be 8 points to them. So you can see whether or not they're going to be taking a card to store up or if they're going to take a planet. If it's a turn, they're going to take a planet and it's in that rightmost spot or center spot. So we're there. You take this one, they'll go over and take this one. So you can control a little bit what the opponent scores, but they are always going to be scoring. Now, I mentioned about a harder difficulty and easier difficulty. If you want a harder time, you let the AI go first. You want easier time, you let yourself go first. Harder and easier scoring. Easy scoring is they only ever score planets. They just score them face-up value, that's it. The harder scoring is going to be that they also get those landing bonuses. On average, for my games I've tested, we're looking at anywhere from a 4 to about an 8-point difference. So if you just want to, if you add up the totals, just note what the landing value was, and you can see whether or not harder or easier scoring. If you can beat on hard scoring, you're doing awesome. You should be able to beat on easy scoring most of the time. There's usually, and so that's just kind of like a little threshold there. This is a very fast game. You literally are just doing multiplication with what I would, we call a DRM, dice roll modifier, but with a plus or a minus 1. So you'll find that there's a pretty good balance of this. I'm not going to spoil and give all the strategies out. This is a very simple game. It's an 18-card game made for 2 people. It's a nice little back and forth. I know you can't see it in the black and white. I'll post a link to the Boardgamegeek page. You'll see some images from that. It's a very colorful game. I like how simple it is. I like that the backs are all the same. I like how, well, I shouldn't say how little information, but how clean the information is. I would have liked maybe those numbers to be a little bit bigger. No big deal. So hopefully you give it a shot. Again, if you try it out with our black and white PNP as I did and you like it, I would suggest throwing them a couple bucks. I think it's like $10 was the Kickstarter. I'm not sure what these will be at retail, if there is going to be a retail or whatever. So this is Rocket Science solo mode. Give it a shot.